The following episode of the Maui Chamber of Commerce's Business Matters was originally broadcast on September 27th, 2022.
And good morning, Maui. I am Pamela Timpot, president of the Maui Chamber of Commerce, who produces this show, and we're thrilled to have you join us this morning for Business Matters, sponsored by Mokulele Airlines. I'm actually calling in from beautiful Pukalani, Maui, and today we are going to talk with Vince Bagoyo Jr. to talk about one of our favorite topics, because we're still in a crisis, which is attainable housing and rentals. And then we're going to learn about a new dialysis center coming to Kihei, and then we're going to learn more about the amazing team at Old Lahaina Luʻau and all of their sister companies and the things that they're doing to connect with the local community. But I'd like to start off this morning by welcoming a person that many of us know in this community, Vince Bagoyo Jr. He is the president and owner of Vince Bagoyo Development Group, LLC. He's involved in real estate development, workforce housing projects, and project analysis and management. And I want us to talk a little bit about that because that's something that seems to hang a lot of people up on why things don't pencil out at times. He is also the co-publisher and editor-in-chief of Maui Phil Am Voice newspaper. He was the vice president at Castle and Cook Inc. From 1993 to 2003. He was also a former council member in 1991 and 92, and director of the Maui County Department of Water Supply in 84 to 1990, and from 82 to 84, director of the County Department of Human Concerns and Housing. So he has a lot of development and housing experience. But in addition to all that, he has many community activities. He's an executive board member for Hawaii Pacific Baptist Convention. He is the chairman of the board for the Two-Thirds World Network, a Christian foundation-based organization that goes out and does medical missions, disaster relief, and plants churches in Southeast Asia, recognizing that two-thirds of the world's population have not heard about God, and is a board member and vice president of Maui Health System Foundation. In addition to that, he is also a past president for Hawaii Resort Developers Conference and a member of the former member of the Maui County Charter Commission. He, in addition to that, holds a master's degree in public administration from the California State University at Long Beach and a bachelor's of arts degree from Chaminade University in Honolulu. So, Vince, aloha and good morning. So glad you could join us.
Oh, thank you so much, Pam. Appreciate it.
It is so great to connect with your bio. I think this is the first time actually the second, because you were one of our speakers at our housing forum. But you really have a long history of development experience through your career. And one of the things that we keep hearing today are people who are touted as sort of housing experts. And I'm always asking, well, what makes them a housing expert? What is the experience, the degree, the how long have they been working in this arena, actually doing the work, versus, listening to some of ideologies and different theories that people think are going to work. And you have quite a background in this. How do you think we get off this dime from moving to getting units built and our community better understanding what it actually takes and why it's so important that we continue to act and continue to create attainable housing and rentals versus spending a lot of time on trying to re-engineer processes that are holding us back?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I'm the expert, but I've been working on workforce housing for some time. since in the early 80s when I was working under Hannibal Tavares as a director of housing and human concerns. And I actually, most of the projects that we have done during that period, actually the county almost acts as a developer at the time. So, we built several county housing projects. I think from central Maui to west Maui and part south Maui. And so I think we have departed from that policy that was established that the county will develop those homes, and now we have rely on the private sector to pick up the pieces in terms of developing more workforce housing. It has been very difficult as a developer. As a small developer, it's difficult because the risk is pretty high.
People refer to that time, and I guess back then many counties, and some I guess still do, work in the development itself. I mean, they actually have a team who go out and work in creating these attainable housing and rental projects. Did it work better then? Is it working? Would it work better? What would it take since we don't have that capacity in the departments now, and that hasn't been done for many years, what do you feel it would take to get us back on track to getting more attainable housing and rental units produced quickly?
Yeah, I think the private developers actually are willing to build them, but the margin is very small, and also a lot of the land use issues out there is unpredictable in terms of getting a project approved. So it's more. I guess we had more government bureaucracy today than in the 80s. There's more regulations. I remember one of the regulations that we have used to develop workforce housing is HRS 46-15, and we've used that many times during the 80s. And I think we haven't used it since, and I don't know why we have not used it. But I think there's existing laws out there that we can use to develop more housing, but it requires a partnership between the developers and the county and the state. I think for a big project, for a large project, as an example, I think a good example is the Maui Tropical Plantation. It took them 15 years or more to get to where they are today, and I still don't see that project moving in the next few years. Especially right now, to be honest, I don't see any more houses, workforce houses, to be built in the next couple of years because of there's a number of reasons. One is the potential recessions on the first Q of next year, the cost of money, cost of materials, and the uncertainty of getting it approved at the county level. That's a huge risk. So I don't know. I'm not optimistic at this point that there will be more houses to be built.
Yeah, and we keep hearing about projects. I know there's some developers like Howard Kihuni who've got some workforce housing projects in play, and the mayor's talking about more units coming online, in the next couple of years. And yet we are also hearing all the things you mentioned, what's happening in the financing realm, what's happening with the rising cost of materials, supply chain issues, so a lot of things hitting us now. And I'm curious about, I think you said, I was having a little hard time hearing you, Vince, was it HRS 43-15? Is that correct? 4615, which is an experimental housing project.
We've used that in Central Maui. We've used it in Molokai, and we've used it over in West Maui. That was in 1982, 83, 84. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know you said you don't know why, and it made me curious to think, well, it's time we start putting these things back on the table again.
Yeah, I think it's, it's going to require a huge cooperation between the administration, the county council, and the private developers. And then one of the things that will cause another problem is, as you're probably familiar with, is the Bill 107 that the county council is currently reviewing, and that's to reduce the AMI. And that's going to kill a lot of projects, in my opinion.
Yes. That's where we kind of talk about this challenge between, ideology and what we want to have, right? And obviously wanting and who we want to serve, and trying to address the needs at all levels, really, of the AMI spectrum. We want to make sure that we're taking care of the people who are really struggling, as well as those in the workforce and everything in between.
Yeah, I think it's. I know rentals are needed, but as you know, I think rental projects, if you're trying to target the 60 AMI and below, you need a substantial subsidy from the government. And I don't think that the county or the state has enough money to subsidize that kind of AMI. It's very expensive. That's why you don't see a lot of private developers building rental units. Because it's just not feasible for a private developer, and it is privately financed. I think the last project that is funded by private sector is the one that I worked on with in the shop, 340 rental units right here in Wailuku, and that is funded by private investment. And I think most of the projects, rental projects, are fully subsidized by either the county or the state, and the federal low-income housing tax credit.
Yeah, there was that time.
That's why you don't see private developers working on rental units.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there was. You're not, and then there was a bill that would have allowed in apartments in industrial areas that we thought was a option.
I support building rental units that target the 60 and below AMI, but I'm more supportive of this simple project because that builds equity.
Yes, exactly.
And it's just a good example. Like my dad and my mom, they built a home in the Dream City, and that's how they were able to send us to college because of they have equity. But rental units, you really don't have equity built in, and that's to me, if you really want to help working people, you got to give them an opportunity to build equity.
I absolutely agree. I've been telling stories lately. I don't know why it's come up just recently, but I was a single mom at 20, and one of the things that gave me equity was buying a condominium at Harbor Lights.
Yep.
And that was a great project, that the county initiated. I believe it was under Mayor Carvalho, and that project gave me home ownership and security at a time. It was affordable. I didn't, it was for people who, if you were on HUD, you could actually, if you could find a way to get a deposit, you could get off of HUD and actually own a unit and build some equity back in those days because it was, units were going for, about $30,000.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's been my kind of my calling.
Yeah.
That's why I came back to Maui and started a small, company. And I agree with you. I think we need to build more fee simple homes that are affordable for Maui's working families, and that way they can move up to, to the middle class, if you may. So I've been an advocate for fee simple homes.
Yeah.
So,
and what are the projects that you're working on right now?
I was one of the partners. I think that one of the last projects that the county council approved a couple of years ago. We got an approval. I think my partners and I bought 12.5 acres from the Emmanuel Lutheran Church right next to on the south side of Longs. And so we were able to get an approval for 100% affordable, 80 units, fee simple. So I think, and then my partners, we sold it to our investors. So they're going to be building the verticals. So,
okay.
That's 80 units, and it's 100% affordable.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Those are the projects that everybody keeps saying they want, but we're missing the connection, as you said, with uniting the administration council and the developers in the room.
Yeah, I think you will find that at least the people that I know, the private developers that I know, I think they're willing to help out, but they also need a lot of help. There's the uncertainty about whether or not the project will be approved. And it's a huge risk in terms of just getting, the permitting process, getting to the county council, and it costs a lot of money. And so there's that uncertain, feeling that, if the projects will not be approved, you're looking at a huge initial investment that you probably will lose. And so I think if the county and administration, the county council somehow there's certainty. I think you will find that private developers will be probably willing to step up to the plate and help out. So.
I absolutely agree. People keep. I've had discussions over and over again, and there's been so much effort and rhetoric to demonize our developers and make them sound like greedy people who are just out for a dollar without understanding what it takes to fund and finance and get projects like this through not only the approval process but the construction phases with changing dynamics and supply chain issues and rising costs and what it takes to finance things these days. And we need to stop that. We need to recognize that if we're not building within the county as a department and actually building, we need to work with our development partners to get units built. They're the experts. They're the people who get it done. And it's time we come back together.
I think we know what needs to be done. I think it's just a matter of trying to kind of put all the pieces together. And it was kind of interesting because one of the main, our lead story for our paper in September is about housing. And so we actually asked the two mayoral candidates very pointed questions as to how they can address this. And it's interesting, the contrast of the response. So I thought it was very interesting. It's just like just reading their responses to very pointed questions. I think it's all, the contrast is kind of a result-oriented, and the other is understanding the process. And I think if we can merge those two, I think we can make it happen. But very
Yep.
interesting.
Well, this is a very important election, and both mayoral candidates are strongly talking about housing. So, folks, do your homework and read up and understand where our candidates are at, because we're in a crisis state. We've been in a crisis state for a long time, and you want to make sure that we're moving this forward. Vince, thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Well,
We've loved having you on the show, and let's have you on again soon.
All right. Just let me know. I appreciate it. Have a good day.
I will. You too. Blessings and aloha. Okay, we're going to be right back after a brief message from our sponsor, Mokulele Airlines.
Mokulele Airlines operates the largest commuter airline hub in the country, right here in Kahului. Fly Mokulele from Kahului to Molokai, Lanai, Hana, Waimea, Kona, and now Hilo. Mokulele also operates the only flights between Kapalua and Honolulu. There is never a middle seat on Mokulele, and every seat has a window and aisle. Visit mokuleleairlines.com and take your next flight from the newly renovated Mokulele Terminal.
And we're back. Our next guest is Pliny Arenas, who has a BSN, RN, CNN, and is the Vice President of Operations for U.S. Renal Care Pacific Region, which is a leading dialysis provider in the United States. He gained his management experience covering dialysis clinics all over the United States. He started by covering the West Coast and then the Pacific region in 2013. His work with renal companies bolstered their strategy, operations, business development, and expansion of the services. He is passionate in ensuring that individuals living with end-stage renal disease will have access to the highest quality of life sustaining dialysis treatments. His passions are also seen in his commitment in developing leaders and strong teams that will help shape and uphold the quality of the delivery of dialysis care in Hawaii and all over the United States. He is also an advocate for the National Kidney Foundation of Hawaii, serving as one of their board of directors. He is a member of the Medical Advisory Board of End-Stage Renal Disease Network 17, healthcare advisory group that supports Hawaii, Northern California, Guam, and American Samoa. Further, he passionately advocates for the health of moms and babies, serving as one of the board of directors of March of Dimes Hawaii chapter. He graduated as one of the top students of his class at Far Eastern University Institute of Nursing in 1988. He received his certified nephrology nurse CNN certificate in 1998. Recently, to complement his accomplishments and excel in his career, he completed the Executive Leadership Program at the University of Oxford Syed Business School in the United Kingdom in 2020. So he is a partner with the world's leading nephrologist and supports the development of diverse and compassionate clinical and operational teams. Good morning, Pliny. Welcome to the show.
Good morning, Pam. Aloha. How are you?
Aloha. My goodness, what an amazing background you have and work that you're doing in this area of renal care. We are so pleased to hear about the work that you're doing and a little bit about how you're expanding. Can you tell us a little bit more about the company and your current footprint in the Pacific region and some of your plans?
Be glad to. Currently, we have 14 clinics here on Oahu, and we're serving over 1,800 patients.
Wow.
And out of the 14 clinics, we have 8 home therapy programs as well.
Wow.
And we are currently expanding in the neighbor islands. So I'm pleased to share with you that we got an approval for 2 more clinics in the island of Maui. One will be in Kihei and one will be in Kahului.
Now, I know a little something about trying to get additional healthcare services in the islands. There's the Certificate of Need process, which is many other states have done away with that Certificate of Need process. And then, of course, there's local planning and zoning issues and things. Tell me a little little bit about going through the process in Maui to get the clinics, and what's your time frame for Kahului and Kihei?
Okay, so you're correct. Hawaii is one of the states with the certificate of need requirement. And I would say, based on my experience, I've been doing this since 1992, that we have the most restrictive CON process. And recently, though, SHIFDA, which is the State Health Planning Agency overseeing the CON process, they went to court and was able to get the decision from the court that once they made their decision, it would be a final decision and it cannot be, reconsidered anymore. So that helped the process. So once you get an approval, it cannot be, contested by your competitor. So to speak, it's going to be a final approval. So that process alone, with the hearing and with the application, it can take 6 months. Now, the bigger challenge is the approval of the construction permit. Here in Hawaii, I'm not sure if you're familiar, but it takes 6 months to 12 months to get an approval for a construction permit. And sometimes it takes more than a year.
Yeah.
So given that, Kihei, which is, approved by SHIFDA and identified that there's a need in that area, it would not open if it doesn't get approved by November of this year. It will not be opening until second quarter of next year.
Wow.
Yes, yeah. So, believe it or not, ever since we got the approval for the CON application, I've been getting a lot of calls from your residents there. I'm based out of Oahu, so they're always asking me on when we will be able to open Kihei. Our construction team is on standby. We are ready with our plans, but, we are at the mercy of the Department of Planning and Permitting.
How can we help? Has anyone had a conversation with the mayor about this? And how many anticipated patients in the Kihei area are you expecting to serve that could be served more expeditiously during this important time in their life where they need this treatment? What is the population numbers you're expecting to serve the people who are waiting?
So right now, we are anticipating to admit initially at least 20 patients, and we have the capacity to serve at least 100 patients combined in center and home therapy programs. So to augment the wait time, which, when they come from the hospital, they need a facility that they can go to for their life-sustaining therapy. And if they don't, then they have to wait and stay longer in the hospital. So to augment that, we started home therapy program wherein we train patients at home.
Okay.
So, right now we have 12 patients already that we've trained successfully. So once our clinic is open, we will transition them to Kihei, and the rest that are in need of in-center dialysis treatment, we can accommodate them in Kihei as well. So as far as speaking to the mayor, we met with him when we attended the Barrio Fiesta Festival and also the Maui Nurses Association. So we did share with him the necessity of opening the clinic as quickly as possible.
Yes. How can we help? And can you share with us what some of the current holdup is in the permitting side?
If you can, advocate your group or, anyone that's listening to please call the Department of Planning and Permitting to prioritize U.S. Renal Care Kihei because it's a dialysis facility. It's a healthcare facility that will meet the needs of those who are in need of um, life-saving therapy such as dialysis. So that's one thing that you can do. And with our experience in Hawaii County, Mayor Roth and his group prioritize our applications there because we're currently building 2 clinics there as well. But the applications that we applied to Hawaii County, they got approved within 6 months. So they gave us that consideration.
Right.
And in Hawaii County, the need is much greater because, they have only 1 clinic in Hilo and 1 clinic in Kona. So both clinics are full right now. And we don't want that to happen in Maui.
Right.
The current clinic there is at its capacity. And with COVID, you need to isolate patients 6 feet apart and in a separate shift. So if that continues to happen with the volume coming from the hospital and new starts, then they may end up dialyzing very late at night, which is not conducive for.
Yeah, this is really important.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad to have you on. I really wasn't aware of this. And, we do know in so many things that we're doing that we are lagging behind other counties in our permitting, and it's something that's being discussed and worked on. But, just even we used to say to go through the state CON process, that was the most arduous. So to now hear that you've actually gone through that, and now it's more on a local level. I really appreciate you sharing that so that we can all hear how we can advocate and help make these services more readily available in our community and talk to our government about that. You folks are really on an amazing expansion track, not just in Hawaii, but also in different areas that you serve. Tell us a little bit more about the growth that you're anticipating and what your future goals are like.
Oh, well, our company is the 3rd largest in the country, and we're the biggest privately held dialysis company in the world. And because we're privately held, we can expand in a more expeditious manner. So we are currently present in 33 states, and within the next 24 months, we are anticipating to open 30 to 50 more clinics.
Wow.
And we focus, thank you, and we focus as a company on underserved areas, and that's why, it explains why we're going to Hilo, to Kona, to Kapa'a, and to Maui as well. And you won't believe it, Pam, but there are still packets in the United States that are not being reached by, the services that they need, and one of which is dialysis. So that's our mission, and that's our passion. We go to where our services is needed. And the type of services that we need is always, the latest and greatest. Matter of fact, we are the first company that introduced the latest hemodialysis machine that's out in the industry. And now the residents of Hawaii can take advantage of it.
That is really exciting to hear, and it sounds like you've got a very strong mission that you folks are furthering. We always talk about equity, right? Equitable systems, and healthcare, of course, is one of those arenas where you really want equity, especially in rural areas. It's so hard for us in islands in Hawaii and in many of the places you serve in the different states and across the globe to get those kinds of quality services in our rural areas. So it's exciting to hear that you are really focused on those populations that truly need your services in underserved areas, and that that's where you're targeting and bringing in quality, top-notch equipment is a dream come true. That's what you want to hear,
Yeah. And yeah, we are so proud of that, and we're passionate in bringing the state-of-the-art therapy and services available for dialysis, and then make sure that the residents and the community that we work with are getting the latest and greatest and the best quality of care possible.
And for people who are maybe not as familiar with how important dialysis is and what dialysis services and treatments mean in somebody's life who need those types of services, maybe explain, from, again, your background in nursing, what does that look like? And what do these services really mean in their everyday life? How does it improve their lives?
Okay. From how it's described by our Chief Medical Officer, Dr. Mary Dietrich, dialysis treatment is a miracle. When your kidney fails and someone tells you that you have to go on dialysis 3 times a week or 4 times a week or every day if you're doing it at home through PD, your life will change. And it will alter your schedule, your priorities, and it will impact your family as well. So normally, our kidneys work 24 hours, 7 days a week. With the patients that are in need of dialysis, they are dependent on the treatment. They don't normally urinate anymore and remove the toxins in their body. So their urine, or the toxin, so to speak, mixes with their blood. It mixes with their blood and it gets concentrated to the point that it's impacting their physiologic status and it takes away a lot of things like managing their anemia that normally is being done by the kidneys and their blood pressure and the electrolytes that we have in our body. So all that gets concentrated if they don't get the dialysis treatment that they need. And for someone with no complications, they may last for 2 weeks without dialysis, but someone with other comorbids like heart disease or hypertension, they may not last for a week without dialysis treatment. So that's how critical it is.
Wow. Yeah, this really is such an important service for those who need it, and I remember growing up as a teenager and being in a youth program with a young man who needed dialysis, and it was important to his health, and if he didn't get his dialysis regularly, he couldn't participate, and that was somebody who was very young and already needing these kind of services, and I know it runs the spectrum, but it's so critical and life-saving. Thank you so much for sharing that and for all that you're doing. It really is such an amazing opportunity for us in the islands to have you come in and be bringing these new centers and top-notch equipment, state-of-the-art technology here in our rural areas. Pliny, is there anything else you'd like to quickly share with us, or how can people learn more about your programs and get involved?
Oh, yeah. Please visit our website, www.usrenalcare.com, for more information. And like you said, the person that you've met during your youth group, dialysis is a necessity for those who are in need of the treatment. And with the advancement of technology, dialysis patients can live a fulfilling and quality life in spite of the therapy that they need on a regular basis. Matter of fact, here in Hawaii, we have patients that have been on therapy for over 30 years.
Wow.
So it is possible now to live a quality life and have a fulfilling life with dialysis because of all the options that we offer. We offer home therapy, which includes PD, and which is peritoneal dialysis or home hemodialysis. Very flexible schedule because you basically make your own schedule. And we can train you in the comfort of your home if you want to, or we can train you at the Kihei clinic once it's open. And of course, the other option is in-center dialysis wherein you come 3 times a week. The other option is transplantation if you're qualified and you have a donor. And of course, we respect everyone's decision. Some patients, they don't choose any treatment and they go to hospice. So those are the options that you have. But, for you to be able to make an informed decision, please discuss it with your nephrologist, or you can reach out to us. We offer kidney care options education on a regular basis, and your family and your loved ones are welcome to join you if you are suffering from chronic kidney disease and end-stage renal disease. We'll be here to support you and point you to the right resources.
Well, it is a wonderful program, and we are so grateful to U.S. Renal Care and the work that you're doing, Pliny. Thank you so much for being with us this morning, sharing all of your programs and the work you're doing in Hawaii. And we want to see those services up here soon, and beginning with our clinic in Kihei. So for those who are concerned, please reach out, let the county know. We'll see what we can do to help, and see if we can't find out a little bit more about what's holding things up and how we can expedite it. But I'm glad to hear that they were able to do that on the Big Island for you, and we will look to see what can be done here. But just appreciate you. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Aloha and mahalo nui loa.
Aloha. Mahalo nui loa to you, too, and have a blessed day. All right. Well, if you're just tuning in to Business Matters, we've had an exciting morning, and now we're going to speak with Kawika Freitas. Kawika's been working at the Old Lahaina Luʻau for 14 years. He started as the general manager and is now in a supporting role as Director of Public and Cultural Relations, leading the team at Naho Aloha Ikolu, which includes the Old Lahaina Luʻau, Star Noodle, Leota's Kitchen, and Pie Shop, and Ho Aloha Bakery. He says their business success lies in their involvement and support of our community, and we are going to talk this morning with Kawika about the many ways that they work with local farmers and manufacturers, producing quality products that they can incorporate in their business, as well as their efforts on getting involved in the community from many different standpoints, including donations and volunteering. So let me welcome Kawika.
Hi, good morning, Pam. Good morning, everybody out there.
Good morning. So glad to have you on the show again, Kawika.
Yes, it has been a while since I last chatted with you on this station.
Yeah. Well, you guys are always doing so many amazing things, and I know that people know about Old Lahaina Luʻau. We all go on a regular basis, especially when we have guests in town, and even when we don't have guests in town, we love to go. And, of course, all the phenomenal restaurants. But I don't know that everybody knows about the great extent that you and the many different companies are working to support local ag and local businesses. Can you tell us a little bit about those efforts?
Yeah, well, in order for us to try and help our island and our state be self-sustaining, we really feel that we need to support our local suppliers, our farmers, and local vendors and stores. A good example is, we cook a hog every night for our evening presentation, and we were buying, our hogs from the mainland. But, it's really important that we supported our local farmers. And even though it costed us more, hey, you know what? That's just part of being like I mentioned, part of being involved with our community is to just go ahead and pay that extra and support them so that they can pass on the business of raising hogs, because a lot of the next generations are not too much into that. Yeah. So
yeah.
We supported our local farmer with our hogs, and that has really helped them, and it has helped us with a better, fresh, totally better product all around.
Yeah. Are they seeing more people wanting to get into that business? Are they finding workers that are interested in doing that?
Well, one of our farmers that we use, he could not find anyone, so he eventually closed. But another person that he started to mentor has been our farmer now. He's a new guy, and it's exciting that he's getting his family, his wife, and his children involved. So I'm so excited. That's a win-win all around.
Yeah, that's fascinating.
Another thing too, Pam, is for us, with the Luʻau especially, and us trying to share our Hawaiian culture. Most recently we stepped back and we said, hey, we want to provide really, really good, a really good product. And one of the things that we switched out recently was we used to buy the frozen ahi cubes for our poke that we serve at our Luʻau nightly. But we felt, hey, let's step it up. We're in the middle of the Pacific with all this fresh fish. Let's go fresh and support, again, the local fishermen. So that has been another step in the direction of supporting, even though it costs more, but we are supporting our local family. Now, going back to our community and our involvement with not only donations and volunteer, most of our guests and visitors to our luau is mostly visitors. But, the reason why community is so important is that everybody around us are our community. Our workers are from our community, our vendors are from our community. I think more businesses out there need to embrace community and support them in every way that they can.
Well, I absolutely agree, and I'm so glad that you folks are leading in this way, because I know that even, Maui Brew, there's so many of our local manufacturers that you folks you're supporting ag, you're also, and the fishermen, and then you're supporting many of our local manufacturers who make products like Maui Brewing Company and others.
Yes. In fact, that's a great story with the Maui Brewing Company. Our guests have asked us, hey, you guys got some local breweries around. Why don't you folks start serving that? And, of course, cost is the first thing that comes to mind. But, again, we look back at what our company values are, and if we're going to support local, we just pay the extra and get it done. So we asked Garrett over at Maui Brewing, hey, Garrett, can you do something really unique and special for us? Brew us a special brew. I don't want to just order your, big swell and your bikini blonde and all that. So he created one, and we wanted to use something from one of our canoe crops, and we decided to use uala or sweet potato as the base. And so he has created one, and we call it the uala beer, and it's exclusively served at our luau. Our guests love it, and it's a real connection to our vision and our mission to keep our culture strong and alive and part of our business.
I had no idea you had your own uala beer, and that it was based on the sweet potato. That's fantastic.
And I assure you, it's not a purple beer. I know people go, what? Sweet potato beer is purple? No. But it's a great beer, and he added a little bit of Big Island honey to it, and it's just, everybody loves it. Another thing, too, is some of our local distillers also are starting to produce vodka and rum and such. So we're starting to look into supporting them as well. Again, at a higher cost, but hey, let's keep the money here. So that's how we're looking at it.
I think that's phenomenal, and that's one of the things that we keep talking about, right? We keep talking about how can we, as we're working to better manage tourism, work with those who really want to come, who really want to be a part of our sustainability movement and community-driven movement, who care about and are interested in the unique things that we have to offer and are willing to pay a little bit more for it. Are you finding, because of course in business, when things cost more, we still have to find a way to recoup that so that we're not operating at a loss. Are you finding people are excited about these changes that you've made and the broader holistic approach within the community? And has there been any impact in terms of customers saying, "Oh, that's a little too high," or are they willing to embrace that and enjoy these unique offerings?
Yes, yes to all of those things. And one of the things great about it is whenever you incorporate things from around us, it really makes our event that much more special. It becomes a subject that you can talk to the guests about. This beer is made from a local brewery using the wallow or the sweet potato. They just love that. And like you said, yes, we would pass that cost back on to the guests, but in return, it's like a wow, it's
right.
Like, wow, that is so cool. And that's just one aspect. Then we talk about the fresh fish, and we talk about the spirits that we're getting from our local vendors, and of course the hogs too. They really enjoy it. Now, because of COVID, we made some adjustments to how we operate, going away from a buffet style and more of a table service. Strictly table service, all of our meals, so it's served in courses. And with COVID and social distancing, our capacity dropped by about 100. And now that COVID has lifted, we really like the way that it is right now, a little bit smaller group, give more attention to the guests, more attention to what we're giving them, and blow them away with the great service, and sticking true to, for us at the Luʻau, our presentation of an authentic Hawaiian experience.
I think that is such a great way to go, and that's what you folks have always been about. Kawika, I know I have to stop there. I'm getting a flag that it's the end of our time, but thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for all that you do to present Hawaii in an authentic way, and our culture in an authentic way to our guests. We just love having you on the show, and folks, that's the end of Business Matters today, but we've had a great morning. I hope you all have a beautiful and blessed Maui day. Aloha.